Hi guys, Jeffrey here. In this video, I'm going to show you the 4 really subconsciously toxic things that people commonly do when they're faced with the prospect of divorce, separation, or their partner wanting space. And these toxic things that people do usually do not appear toxic on the surface, but when you dig deeper into it and look at the mechanics of how it affects your partner and yourself as well, you will see just how toxic this is. And be sure to stick around till the very end of this video because these are very, very common mistakes that I see people making. And these are actually mistakes that are perpetuated by many professionals and many other videos out there talking about this topic. But once you understand what these things are, you'll understand just how much more damaging they actually are than what it seems like in the surface. And if you're new to this channel, my name is Jeffrey and I help men in long-term relationships or in marriages with the right skills, with the right knowledge to be able to design a thriving relationship for yourself. So if you want more content on this topic, then subscribe to this channel. And also click the bell button to be notified when I post new videos every single week. Now, before we begin this video, I also want to let you know that the registration for the free masterclass on the 5 proven steps to rebuilding your relationship from the ground up is still open. So if you want to be a part of that, be sure to stick around to the very end of this video for the announcement on how you can join that masterclass. Now, to make this first point, I want to give this analogy or this dichotomy between working on a product versus working on sales and marketing. And if you are in business or if you are very career oriented, you would like this example. Now, if you look at product versus sales and marketing here, when it comes to saving the relationship, what they tend to focus on is just the sales and marketing side. And so here you really focus on just the tactics, what to say, what to do, what text can I send, how do I respond to this, what do I say when. So these are all questions around how do I appear or externally appear like I know what I'm doing, like I have changed. And so if I look at a lot of the questions and a lot of the requests that I get from, I would say 90% of people, I would categorize most of them as falling into this category of sales and marketing. And the reason why this really doesn't work is that if you really look at your relationship problem, nobody has relationship problems. People have problems with the self that begins to reflect in the relationship. And if you try to unpack what that quote means, you will start to understand here that I think a lot of people, they think what they're struggling with is the lack of tactics, the lack of understanding of what to do and what to say. What most people don't realize is that the problem actually runs much, much deeper than just understanding what to do, what to say. Now, a really clear example of why I think most people don't actually need to understand more of the tactics and what to do and how to do it is when we apply this to the concept of listening, for example. So a lot of people, they understand how to listen. They understand they should listen. They should ask questions. They should be curious and not be too judgmental or too assumptive whenever they're talking with their partner. But the problem is, again, if you have a self-esteem issue, if you have a mindset issue, if you have a hypothetic mind and not an antithetic mind, then whenever your partner says something that triggers you, and because you're not bulletproof, you're going to be easily triggered, then you're going to lose all sense of desire to want to be able to listen, to want to be able to not be judgmental and to not want to react. This just comes reflexively and naturally. And this is not for lack of understanding of what to do or how to do it. This is really just your internal programming hasn't allowed you to play out the right things to do. So as you really can see here, the problem is rarely about the sales and marketing. I think a lot of us know 80% of what to do, what to say. The problem really lies in that we haven't really changed ourselves yet. We haven't really changed the product, in this case, us as a product. And just like any business, if you have a bad product, then it really doesn't matter what kind of sales and marketing you do. Nothing is really going to work. In fact, the more sales and marketing you do, the worse it gets as they find that the product isn't really what the sales and marketing really promised. And this analogy translates very well to relationships as well in that, first of all, so many people focus on the sales and marketing side. And when you're so desperately trying to sell yourself and market yourself to your partner that you have changed and so on, that can smell very fishy. And your partner can smell that fishiness, that neediness, that desperation, that manipulation from a mile away. And even if your partner were to come back into the relationship and she sees that, wow, this product that you claim that it is isn't really what it's cracked up to be, that's when you lose trust. That's when you really lose safety there. So the biggest shame that I see that a lot of people face is they obsess so much about manufacturing contact, about the sales and marketing side, that when they actually get the contact that they're looking for, their partner doesn't see anything. And so she ends up losing a lot more trust and safety even more, and that's the biggest shame. So what does it mean then to work on the product and not the sales and marketing side? So if you have joined my masterclass or if you've watched a lot of my videos, you will know what we call the 3 layers of changes. You have to understand the frameworks. You have to understand the mindsets beneath that, the bulletproof mindsets and the mindsets that allows you to think in a better way. For example, we talk about the value of antithetic thinking. We talk about the value of valuing a clean and quiet mind so that we can keep ourselves bulletproof, so that we can play out the right frameworks like listening, like asking questions, like connecting with your partner on a deeper emotional level. And of course, we have to master these frameworks and these mindsets in such a deep level that it influences us on that deeper identity level. And this is the moment when your mastery of the frameworks, your mastery of the mindsets becomes something that is part of your identity. They become identity-based habits. They become part of who you are. And that's when you can play these things out in a much more real, genuine, permanent way than before. And if you just focus on these 3 things and these 3 things only, why this works is that, when you build the right mindset, you build the right knowledge, you're going to naturally work on that product, which is the self. And just like in the business setting, when you start to work on the self, you start to work on the product, then the sales and marketing really takes care of itself. It becomes more consistent, it becomes more effective, it becomes more of an improvisation for you. And this brings me to my next point, which is that when you're trying to save your relationship, you want to attract, you don't want to pull. And so the subconsciously toxic thing that a lot of people do that I see is that they try to pull their partner back in. And this illusion is what I call the illusion of action. And that when we see that our partners are pulling apart or moving away and drifting apart from us and they're wanting space, wanting that separation or wanting divorce, instantly we feel like we have to do something about it. That if we just follow what I said before, which is just work on your product, work on yourself, work on the 3 layers indirectly, and your partner will start to see the changes indirectly, we get really anxious about that. We feel quite irresponsible by taking that action because we think that doesn't seem like action to me. And so we're going to feel this strong tug to once again go back to the sales and marketing side because we think that the sales and marketing side is what really counts. That's real action. And so we fall into this illusion of action that we have to say something, we have to do something in order to get our partners back. But really, if I look at all the success stories of all my clients, the biggest success stories don't come from people who are falling for this illusion of action. They actually simply just humbly sit back. They look at the 3 layers of changes. They start to enjoy the process of changing themselves. And usually their outcome follows. But ironically, the people who fall into this illusion of action and they try to say something, they try to say many things to their partner, they try to do many things to pull their partner back in, those are the people who struggle to get the relationship back. And the reason why pulling your partner never really works is, your partner isn't stupid. She, at the end of the day, wants to see whether your changes are real, whether they're permanent, whether they're genuine or not. And if she understands that whatever you say, whatever you do is desperately designed to get your partner back, then she can smell that desperation, she can smell that manipulation, she can smell that neediness from a mile away. Because one, she can never really believe that your changes really happen that quickly. So most people who are too focused on the sales and marketing side, they're thinking in terms of weeks or even very few months. But usually for a lot of my clients, it takes about 6 to 8 months or even a year sometimes for their partners to really, really believe in their changes. Even though they've been really perfect with their changes, it still takes them that amount of time to undo the decades or the many years of damage that has been caused, to remove that confirmation bias. And if you're trying to pull your partner back in too prematurely like this, it also shows that you may not understand what the problem is or even the extent as to how deep or how painful the problems really are for her. Like if you think that you can change whatever aspects that you need to change of yourself in just 2 weeks or even a month, then it shows that you really don't understand. Because if your partner is wanting space, divorce or separation, you also have to understand that the problem probably runs much deeper than you think. So what do you do instead? Again, the answer lies in that 3 layers of changes again. And I hate sounding like a broken record, but these 3 layers of changes are really the 3 layers that you really need. It doesn't matter how much you go to the gym. It doesn't matter how much weight you lose. It doesn't matter if you quit smoking. If you master these 3 layers of changes, not only will you lose weight, not only will you quit smoking because you're going to have the right mindset in which you can approach life, but you're going to start to learn the right ways, the right types of growth that actually matters in your relationship. And when you master the 3 layers of changes, then your calmness, your radiance, your your changes in you, your leadership will really show to your partner in a massive way. And sometimes the changes that you show may not be directly to your partner at first. It may be indirect through your mutual friends. It may be through your children, through your family members. And so this is how a lot of our clients can start to showcase their changes and reconcile their relationship despite them having zero or very limited contact. But the key here is that your changes needs to be the right changes, and they need to be very, very massive changes as well. And why this works is that if you start to shift your attention away from the sales and marketing side and back into working on the product, working on the 3 layers of changes, and your mindset is shifted away from pulling your partner in to simply growing yourself and trying to use your growth to attract your partner back in, at that point, there'll be no desperation. There'll be no manipulation that your partner can really sense. And you will seem a lot more patient. You will seem a lot more understanding. And you will actually take the time to understand the root core of the problems, and that you're interested in understanding the root core of the problems rather than doing some patchwork fixes. And because you actually enjoy the process of growing yourself, that positivity, that enjoyment, that satisfaction you get from working on yourself will just radiate out more apparently. And not only that, when you enjoy the process, you can be a lot more consistent with it, which is crucial if you're trying to fight against that confirmation bias that your partner has against who you are, against your old self, and so on. And another thing that people don't think about that often happens when you are just focused on attracting and not pulling is you're going to be more calm and poised when there are times when your partner wants, let's say, 2 weeks of space, a month of space. But the benefit of this, the opportunity that you have here, is that if you give your partner space like this and you let her kind of be on her own for 2 weeks, even a month sometimes, and she comes back and you've been working on these changes while she's gone, your changes will seem a lot more apparent. It's almost like those moments when you haven't really seen that kid in 2 years and that kid has really grown so much, and the growth seems a lot more apparent because of that time away that you spent. It's a much more stark contrast. Now, the third subconsciously toxic behavior that I see a lot of people make is they focus on efficiency, not effectiveness. And this need for efficiency in their growth, in the speed, the rate of their changes is often brought about by the urgency, because most people, unfortunately, only seek help when things are dire, when they're on the brink of divorce, when they're on the brink of their partner giving up. Only then do people seek help. And because they're on the brink of divorce and losing everything in their household, they let this sense of urgency force them to seek some shortcuts or force them to seek some quick fixes to their problems. Now, to illustrate how toxic this can seem to your partner, and how if you let this urgency illusion or the paradox take over you, you basically will have almost a zero chance of ever reconciling in your relationship. The first one is what I call the unbelievable 1 month change. So imagine here you've been married for multiple decades, multiple years, and your partner is wanting separation, wanting divorce, because she realizes that there are some very deep-seated problems that both of you have that cannot be fixed in a month, really. And so imagine that you go to your partner a month from now and you tell your partner, hey partner, I'm a perfect person now. I'm a wonderful person now. I've changed. You can come back. Would she believe you? No, of course the answer is no. She will never believe that. And so here's a good indication that you should be thinking in terms of multiple months, many months, rather than in terms of weeks or even 1 month. And another example here I can give you is the Boxer example. Now, the question that I get a lot from a lot of people when either they sign on to the program for the first time or they're just leaving a comment on YouTube is they say, okay, I'm going to have this important conversation with my partner here. I'm going to have this crucial conversation, this turning point conversation. And I need to understand what to do, what to say. Jeff, can you give me some quick tips? Well, asking this question is like a boxer who knows he has a fight coming for the last 6 months, but he waits until he's maybe a few days away from the fight. And he goes to his trainer and says, hey, Mr. Trainer, I have no idea what to do. I have this crucial fight coming up. Help me understand how I can dance around the ring, how I can duck, weave, and bob. How can I beat this guy, basically, and not be crushed in this fight? Well, the only thing that the trainer can say is, it's too late. You should have come about this to me 6 months ago. And I would have given you some practices. I would have given you some exercises that you can do every day that makes you good. I can give you some strategies. But right now, I can't give you anything that can allow you to freestyle your way in the many rounds and throughout the many punches that's going to be thrown. And in your relationship, it's the same thing, in that in your relationship, you're not going to just have one conversation that can solve all your problems for you. You're going to have many different conversations, and in those conversations can go a million different directions. And so there's really not one advice that I can give you to help you solve your problem. This is a holistic approach that you need. Now, the third example I want to show you here, and this is something I show my clients all the time, is the last second play example. So imagine you're in a basketball game and you have 6 seconds left, you're down by 2, and you need to make a clutch three-pointer. If you have 6 seconds left, is it better for you to say, you know what, screw the process, screw our plays, I'm just going to grab the ball, freestyle it, and shoot a three? If you do that, then most likely your chances of shooting that three-pointer and actually winning the game is going to be much lower. It's actually your best bet in winning is to stick with the proven process and go for it. And within the context of a relationship, you're going to be faced with the same dilemma as well. You're now faced with the urgency illusion of you're months away, weeks away from your partner really wanting to divorce you. You have a choice. Do you just abandon the play, abandon all your understanding, and try to get all needy by focusing on the sales and marketing, by pulling your partner back in? Or do you focus on a proven plays and actually patiently understand the importance of building safety and the importance of understanding the right types of growth, the 3 layers of growth, and trusting that the process will eventually get you to the result? So this is again the illusion of action, where you might think that by pulling and by focusing on that what to do, what to say in the short term is going to work better, but it's actually going to work out worse for you than if you just simply follow the process. So if focusing on efficiency and following it to the illusion of efficiency or disguise of efficiency is not the way to go, what does it mean to be effective then? So to be effective, you have to understand that first and foremost, your partner will never believe in your changes until they believe that your changes, your new self, is something that's real, something that's permanent, something that you are not faking. She needs to essentially believe that you are a performer at this stage. And you know you're a performer when you can be so consistent with your changes, with your new self. And this consistency needs to be shown in the many ways you respond during the very tough moments, not during the easy moments. So you know you're a performer when your default, your lowest default, when things are really difficult, when you're tired, when you're sleepy and so on, is your new self. That's how you know you're a performer. And your partner knows that this change, this massive change, cannot happen in 1 month. It cannot happen in 3 or even 6 months sometimes, depending on how much you actually have to grow. So here you have to let effectiveness be your guide, and that you have to focus on those 3 layers of changes and then find a process that allows you to master the frameworks, the mindsets, and your identity shifting. And you need to double down on those processes and understand that the fastest way to get results is not by focusing on the sales and marketing and pulling your partner back in, but the faster you find the processes to build the 3 layers, the faster you get your results. Now, in our program, we have a lot of people who have filed for divorce. What I mean is that their papers were signed, closed, and sealed. That's it. They were divorced. But at the end of the day, you have to realize that what your partner is looking for is someone that they can be happy with, someone they can feel safe with, someone they can trust, someone they can admire, someone they can align goals with and resolve conflicts with and stick with for the long haul of their lives. And you also have to understand that it's actually very difficult to find a person, to find a man like that. And if you grow in the 3 layers of changes here, then you're going to make yourself quite irresistible. And you're going to literally have 0 competition in the marketplace, because when you make the 3 layers of changes and you can understand the right frameworks, have a bulletproof mindset, and have all those things be on your deep identity level, it's going to be really hard for your partner not to do a double take on you again. And we have many clients who have reconciled after those divorce papers were signed. So again, don't let this urgency illusion affect your behavior. Simply focus on effectiveness of how you execute the processes of how you grow in those 3 layers, and not about this efficiency side of things where you're trying to figure out what are some quick fixes that I can do right now. And the last subconsciously toxic thing that I want to open your eyes to is how most people are so focused on showing changes or changing the product and not really trying to find and prioritize the process changes. And I want to clarify this point a bit further and how it relates to the first point, in that the first point we said, focus on the product, not sales and marketing, right? But here we're saying, Don't just focus on the product, focus on the process. What you have to understand here is that there's a linear relationship between all these three things. So what we're saying here is that when you take care of the product, when you become the better person, you will take care of the sales and marketing side. You will naturally appear more valuable to your partner. But in order for you to get this product, to become the different person, to become a better person, you need the right process to do so. You need the right ways of thinking, the right ways of practice, the right ways of behaving, and mastering those ways in order for you to get to this product. So most people, going back to the previous point, most people feel this strong urgency illusion because they think that they have to prove to their partner that they are this perfect product. And they feel like if they're weeks or months away from the divorce, they feel like they have to become this perfect product in those weeks or months. And as we said, this leads people to take a lot of shortcuts, to take a lot of magic pills that makes them seem very manipulative, that makes everything they do seem a bit cheaper and less effective. But you have to understand here that your partner isn't looking for you to become the perfect person. She knows again that you cannot become the perfect person in a month. You cannot become the perfect person in 3 months, 6 months, even sometimes 1 year. And what partners never look for is the perfect product. What they're looking for usually is whether you have the right process or not. AKA, do you have the right process to get you to that trajectory of being the right product, of being the right person, of being the right man, and so on. So in this case, if you can show your partner here that you are starting to understand the process of what the right frameworks are, of how to start conversations, how to get around her resistances, how to find emotional win-wins, how to resolve conflicts, difficult conflicts, and how to dance around the conversation. If she can see the changes in your behavior here, your changes in your process of how you go about leading conversations, resolving conflicts, dealing with difficult moments, then she may not believe that you are that person yet, but she can at least believe that you are on the right trajectory now. And if you can show your partner here that you have different mental states, maybe you're guided now by the different set of paradigms in which you see your relationship, in which you see situations, in which you see your partner, and she can see that your paradigm shifts are making you a lot more calm, then she may not believe that you are that calm person, you are that person now. But what she can believe and see is that at least now you're on the right trajectory of having the right process to get there. And as our clients can attest, if you really start to understand what the right process really is, you'll realize that yes, it might take 3 months, 6 months, or even 1 year to show your partner, to prove to your partner here that you have really changed, that you're a different product entirely. But in order for you to show your partner the changes in your process, that can happen very quickly. And all these mindset shifts that I just showed you are really the key mindset shifts, the key approach shifts that a lot of our clients need to make at first, in the beginning, in order for them to understand the journey better and to set their own expectations straight on what the journey will actually entail. And in the last point here, when you start to really understand the process, when you start to understand the importance of the process, then you start to feel a lot more hope, a lot more positivity that, hey, while the situation seems bleak, we can actually have hope. Because again, all our partner wants to see is the changes in the way we process things, the process of how we conduct ourselves, our thoughts. And this is also why, despite being in very difficult scenarios, a lot of our clients are able to reconcile with their partners, despite them being weeks away or even a month away, or sometimes even when the divorce filing has already happened. And they can get their partner back because they're really just focused on building the right product, building the right version of themselves, finding their new self. And they're obsessed about focusing on the process that you take to get to the right product. And once you do this, you realize that this is really the most efficient way to salvage your relationship. And the most efficient way is to simply attract your partner, not pull them into the relationship. So if you want to learn more of these key mindset shifts that you need to set your expectations right and have the right paradigms in which you can use to approach this very difficult scenario you're in right now, or if you want to dig deeper into understanding what those 3 layers are and how you can go about growing those 3 layers, then I want you to join me in my free masterclass on the 5 proven steps to rebuilding your relationship from the ground up. In that masterclass, I'll show you the exact process that all my students have used to get from a place of near divorce to where they are now today. So if you want to join that masterclass, you can click the link above my head right here, or down in the comments, or in the description box below this video. And if you want a free guide that allows you to get a better understanding of what the frameworks are we're talking about in this video, then you can also click the link above my head, or also down in the comments below, or in the description box below this video as well. And finally, if you want to join a community where you can post your questions, ask your questions, and actually get good advice from myself or other members of the community, then you can join my free Facebook group as well. In the meantime, leave a comment with what your questions are. I know this is a very long video and a very deep video, but feel free to go to the comment section below and leave me your questions if you have any. And if you found this video valuable and helpful, then give it a like and subscribe to this channel for more content like this one. In the meantime, I'm going to leave you with these 2 other videos with more skills, with more knowledge that you can use to design a thriving relationship for yourself. For now, I'll see you in the next video.